realized that I felt their presence more once I started meditating and raising my vibration, I want to say, through meditation. I feel them more physically.
We all have insecurities and fear. So the question is, how do you get over them? It's time to explore and identify what's holding you back from your greatest potential. On this podcast, your host, Iris Janet, shows you how to use NLP, meditation, and energy to move past your obstacles.
This is Interview with Jennifer Alemany. Norman Cousins said, "Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss in life is what dies inside of us while we live." Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Firefly by Iris Janet. Today, we have a deep topic and an inevitable aspect of our life. The show today is about grief and how we can deal with it. If you like this show at any time and find anyone who can be inspired by this message, please copy and share the link. And do not forget to subscribe and review this show. Your comments and reviews are very important for me. Jennifer Alemany is a charismatic and a diverse woman who has dedicated her life to help others to find their greatest potential with her mentoring and guidance. After losing a loved one, she began to transform her life through loss and published her first book, Mark My Love, where she speaks openly about her grieving process and being okay with not being okay sometimes. In her memoir, she explores love, loss, and looking at life in a different way. She has an associate degree in early childhood education and a bachelor degree in psychology from Brooklyn College. And today, Jennifer will tell us how to deal with grief, with spirituality, and why spirituality and self-love are important to deal with the loss of a loved ones. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Jennifer Alemany. Hello, Jennifer. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here and share with us your experience and spiritual guidance. So let's get the audience a little bit about Jennifer.
Yeah, I'm a Latin American woman from Brooklyn, New York, born and raised by a single mom. Right now, I'm currently an author, but I was formerly an HR professional for 22 years. That's my background of my career. And then when my boyfriend passed away, I want to say about 2.5 years ago, and I started journaling. And then 5 months later, I realized I had a book on my hands, and I realized I think that I was meant to help others heal because of the pain I experienced. So I wanted to share my story. It was important to me.
You know, that's something that is super, super important. People don't understand how difficult it is to deal with grief until they don't go through that situation. And there is not many people that actually do it in a healthy way. Sometimes we deal with grief. Well, some people deal with grief going into maybe alcohol or doing other things, to kind of avoid that pain. But it's so important that we actually go through that process in a healthy way, that it can help us, that it can make us a better person, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's passing away. It's a part of life, and I think that no one wants to really face it, right? We don't want to think about losing a loved one. It's so horrible, but we have to realize it's a cycle that, we're all going to face at some point. Death of a loved one, death of a pet, loss of a job. There's so many different things that we grieve and we don't realize it, and it can knock us off of our feet, and I think that I took the pain this last time and I decided I'm going to take this pain and turn it into fuel and do something different, with my life. And I changed the whole course of my life, by doing that.
Yes. And this is a very sensitive subject nowadays, now that we have lost so many people, all around the world. In this pandemic, we have lost a lot of loved ones. And this is something I'm sure that you must be busy, because there's a lot of people dealing with this, on trying to understand the inevitable path of life, which is death.
Yeah, a lot of people, it's been interesting. A lot of people have been reaching out to me. I didn't think that it would happen that way, but it did. And it's interesting because, with my story, I was grieving in 2019, right? So before the pandemic started, and then the pandemic started and there was so much pain around us. And I do feel as if I was meant to experience the pain that I did ahead of the pandemic in order to push my way through it and then help others. In 2020, all of that year, I was contemplating whether I would publish the book or not. It's a very intimate story. I go into a lot of details, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to put myself out there. I've been a private person my whole life. And then I felt, again, from the other side, they telling me, like, you need to help others, like you're meant to do something more. So then my HR career ended at the end of 2020. And I was already in the midst of, okay, I decided I would self-publish the book. And then here we are. And there's so many people reaching out to me, because they're grieving and they're in pain.
Yes. So what advice do you have for people who have lost a loved one and struggling with grieving?
I would say the first thing is to always let the light in, because I want to say that in our darkest moments, there's some little bit of light that always comes in. But I feel that when I was grieving, my boyfriend who passed and then my mother who passed 13 years ago, it was all coming together this last go around. So I want to say, let the light in, don't resist it. That was a big piece. I think that when my mom passed away, I didn't let that light in. I didn't want to move on in life without her. So this last go around, it was just another kick in the butt to say, you know what, you got to move on. So my advice is to let the light in and don't resist it.
That is so true. My mother died many, many years ago, probably 25 years ago, I believe. And I was so busy. I have 5 kids, and plus I have my 2 younger brothers. And I was so busy with funeral, everything, kids, work, that I did not cry for a long time. As a matter of fact, nobody saw me crying at the funeral. I was busy doing, taking care of the funeral and everything. And after a year, one day I started crying, and it got me by surprise, because I started crying and I was thinking, oh my goodness, what is going on? I was missing her dearly. It was something super weird. And it was because I did not let, like you said, I did not let the feeling, the light to get at the moment that it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree. I too, when she passed, I think I drowned myself in work. I don't remember crying at her funeral either. The same thing. And I was very close to my mother. She raised me a single mom. So she was my mom, my dad, and my best friend, so you had multiple people. We spoke every day, multiple times a day. So I too didn't cry or grieve, and then I realized it was all, as the years went on, I think I grieved little by little, but I realized I didn't fully face everything. And I think our loved ones on the other side, I think, they want us to move on and to be happy, and they're around us. They're here to help us. I strongly believe that. So it's important to stay in that light and let it in.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I was reading, some of the things that you said. I haven't read the book completely, but I'm working on it. And I noticed that you talk about self-love.
Yes.
Tell me how that is so important.
It's important, I think, because you're not allowing yourself to grieve, right? So you're not allowing yourself your own feelings. It's almost you're creating a prison inside yourself, even though you don't realize it, because that's what I was doing. And then I realized that was me neglecting myself, right? And then I realized I was helping so many others around me because they were grieving in different instances and they were in pain, right? And I was putting all the love into others. And then I realized I had neglected myself. I had little illnesses that were coming up, nothing major, but I was getting sick, little illnesses. And I wondered, I'm a healthy person. Why is this happening? And I realized I wasn't really focusing on myself and taking care of myself. So that's the most important thing, because I think we don't realize, most of us grow up thinking like, oh, that's selfish if I think about myself first and take care of myself. But if you don't take care of yourself and that self-love completely, you're not going to be able to help everyone else, the way you want to and the way. So does that make sense?
Yes, exactly. And also we have to realize that, the person who's gone, they did not want us to be sad and neglecting ourselves. They want us to be happy.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. It's like that. There was plenty of times where, I stopped cooking certain recipes of mine because they were my mother's favorite dishes that I made. Right. So I was stopping myself from doing things because she wasn't here. And I thought, well, I can't do this. She's not here. Why would I want to do that? And it was more recently that, after my boyfriend passed, I just changed how I looked at things. Now I'm cooking those recipes and then I'm speaking to her while I'm doing them and just saying, oh, hey, mom, I'm cooking that. Oh, it came out good this time. And all of that. And we're having a different relationship. And and I think that's the thing. Someone passing on, it's not the ending of a relationship. It's not. They're just around us in a different way.
What do you think that is the most important three things that someone who have lost a loved one to not feel so much the loss, but like you said, talking to the person, like you said, I do that too. Sometimes I'm like, I go vacation and I'm thinking, Mom, I wish you were here and see this. This is wonderful. So I try to talk to her, but I still missing. And that's not what we want, right? We want to feel like they are here. So what is the three things that you think that someone should start doing?
Well, I think, meditation. I meditate a little every day, and it doesn't have to be for long. I tell folks, you haven't done that before, and I know it can be uncomfortable for some people, but just 5 minutes, stay silent, 5 minutes, because I realized that I felt their presence more once I started meditating and, raising my vibration, I want to say, through meditation. I feel them more physically. So I think that's one thing, meditation. I want to say second thing is getting out in nature. I feel their presence more when I'm out, go by the water if you're near water. If you're not, go take a walk. There's some trees, anything like that. I feel like when you're out and about in nature, they connect with you more there and you'll feel their presence. And then I want to say, on the anniversaries of things that whether it be their birthdays or, the anniversary of their passing, don't be sad. I've started doing a celebration on those days, with them. We do something fun. It may not be something they exactly did in life, or maybe I try something new, but I take them on an adventure with me, I want to say, in life now. So anything I'm doing new, I say, come on, guys, I know that you're with me, let's go do this. It's a new thing, So I bring them along and it brings me joy in my heart. So I want to say those three things, people start practicing that just little by little, you may feel their presence more.
That's true. Let's celebrate life, not death, right?
Yeah.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
So where they can find your book, where they can find Mark My Love?
Well, you can find my book on BookBaby, Amazon, Barnes & Noble also. And if you visit my website also, there are clicks there to get directly the book from there as well.
Yeah, that's why I went and get the book in your website. We're going to have all those links in the details of the podcast for you to also, if you want more information, and Jennifer, you can go ahead and go into the details of the podcast. You will have her link. And then from her link, if you go there, you will find all the other options for you to get her book, Mark My Love. And what do you think they will expect in that book? What they can expect in the book of Mark My Love?
Oh, there's all sorts of things. I'll be honest. I emphasize about the love in my life, so any love I've experienced, all kinds of love, I kind of go through that. I think it brings some people inspiration. It shows how I've turned my life around. And I go through just little hardships, not just the grief, but little hardships I discuss in there in life that I've conquered. So I think that it could help someone if they need some motivation. If they're looking for transformation, I also discuss how I transformed my life and my spirituality. I think so. There's a little bit of all sorts of things, I think, to help just any human being, not someone who's just lost a loved one. Also, self-confidence. I used to have self-confidence issues, and I talk about that a little bit in there too as I explore my journey. So I think there's a little bit for every human being, in my book, to be honest.
That's good. That's great. I'm excited about it. I took the book to go ahead and read it this weekend. And I'm going to be doing much other than reading. So I'm excited about that. So our time is over, but thank you so much, Jennifer. I really appreciate your guidance and sharing with us this experience of life from you and from your heart. That's the most important thing, when people talk to us from their heart. And sharing personal things sometimes is difficult, but when we do it from our heart and with love and with a good intention, it always get in the right place, into the right person. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you to our listeners. And do not forget to visit fireflybyirishjanet.com and download your positive affirmation. They are completely free. And if you want to continue being inspired by Firefly, also you can follow me on Instagram at Firefly_IJ. And do not forget to emit your light and attract all your desires.